He's been to 4 finals out of 5, Dave. And we are here.
We're ready to go, and we can hear the crowd in the background. The biggest matches in Age of Empires 2 history are upcoming, folks. Do not tune out of this. We have Aztecs being played for Liereyy is walling up, and Villese going for the aggressive approach here with an archer range fully open at the moment.
It wouldn't be an awesome start without a little bug there. It is not the Viper, my friends. It is Villese. That is a capture age bug.
And the capture age team is here too.
Yeah, so
don't mention it.
Yeah, well, so anyways, we're here, Dave. But look at the start here. So, again, we said with the Dravidians, a lot of times you're seeing the 2 range start, right? Mm-hmm. I'd love to confirm that, see what Villese is up to, but it's an early market from Liereyy on the other side, and we have men-at-arms for Villese as well. It's one of the first times we've seen that.
Yeah, and he's definitely gone for the men-at-arms here to just help pressure. He doesn't want a couple eagles just clearing up his single-range approach, and Liereyy, in a very un-Liereyy-like setting, as we fix the Viper on the scoreboard, I believe. The game's still going on, but we know that Liereyy is full walling and Villese is just coming across with pressure, so we're not going to miss too much here.
Yeah.
Our technical team is just getting the scoreboard sorted out, so no confusion when you enter the chat. Anyway, Liereyy starting with the walls. Liereyy starting with the market. Liereyy doing all the things we didn't expect Liereyy to see, and here we go. We have Liereyy versus Villese, our legitimate finals, and it's right as Villese's army arrives, so it's a perfect timing here. Lierey's eco, he's got 20 on food. He's probably taking some of the extra hunt somewhere around here. And he will have enough to click up to castle, but not yet.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be completely honest with you. I think it's a nervy start for Liereyy. Mm-hmm. That hunt on that ridge area is so important, and then his gold is also there as well. And the last thing he expected was man-at-arms. Yep. He has 3 eagles already, right? Yep. And if it was 3 eagles and a skirmisher or 2, he would have been completely fine to be able to push this back. So let's see what his micro's like.
He also probably wants to sell his stone, which is going to make this very difficult, because I think if Villese continues this pressure, he might need a tower. But Liereyy is trying to snipe the archers early. The men-at-arms, obviously, no threat to the skirmishers currently because of the house. Now they are. And Liereyy was trying to take out those range units. Can't really commit with these eagles either.
Yeah, it's funny how Villese just stays there, because he's like, I know that Liereyy has the confidence to fight this back.
Yep.
What's important here, though, is all the pressures at Lierey's base. And this is where the best players shine in Empire Wars, because it's all about how good their eco is behind this, and then that castle age time we always talk about.
Mm-hmm. Now Liereyy kind of engaging here with the villagers. Villese taking a little peek there, and he's going to move out of the base with his range units and his men-at-arms, but he's still pressuring, still maybe forcing Liereyy to think about a tower, but Liereyy is building enough eagles behind. I'd love to see him pop those in his TC to heal a little bit, but
yeah,
he seems to be doing fine with this pressure.
It's a nervy start, right? Mm-hmm. It's a nervy start. It's still so uncomfortable to get used to playing in a different situation than your home, but Liereyy pushes it away. I think the positives here for Villese would simply be that the Aztec player who wanted to use the market wasn't on gold the whole time.
Hasn't used the market.
So that is a positive, but at the end of the day, the army count is significantly higher for Liereyy, and I think it scales better too. The man-at-arm opening simply did not work there.
Yeah, and the reason we were surprised by the men-at-arms opening, like against Aztecs, against an Eagle player, maybe it might work, but usually the Aztec player is going into archers first with just a couple eagles, and it's a long way away from your enemy's base here on acclivity. But now we look at Villese's resources. He's going to be the one that fast castles, not Liereyy, and he's going supplies.
Supplies, baby, let's go. I mean, it's a sick move, right? It makes the infantry line cheaper, and this is what we discussed earlier. Villese didn't rush the walls down. He had control. Lierey's eco's not even close to clicking up. The key now, though, is he going to have any army presence? Yeah. And is his opponent going to realize that that is the second barracks, Dave?
You were saying about not being close to clicking up?
That's the market.
Market, yeah, there you go. There goes the stone. He doesn't need it anymore as Liereyy tries to hunt down the remaining army from Villese. And Villese is more than happy to just waste Lierey's time in the front base. Don't get him pressuring near the eco.
Look at this, Dave. Sorry to get so excited about a barracks. I mean, it's the stupidest thing. But this is massive, because if I'm Liereyy, I'm just assuming that was the starting barracks here.
Yep.
I'm not thinking that that's a second barracks, and that second barracks is so crucial here. It's almost a situation where you don't want to show any more men-at-arms either, because then Liereyy will realize, okay, I'm going to have to switch out of eagles.
You can show like 3 or 4, because maybe Villese would use that starting barracks to produce them anyway, because he got the research, right? But with Dravidians, I mean, he's going to take full advantage of the discounted barracks costs in the castle age to upgrade to longsword, and there's a barracks there from Liereyy, so he's thinking about full eagles here. Now, if he wants to go longsword v longsword, I think it is possible for him because his eco is going to be a little bit more stable.
Hold the gate open. You definitely want to hold the gate open there. He doesn't do it. It is going to be awkward for those two men-at-arms, but it is more awkward for Liereyy at the moment, Dave. This is some crazy pressure.
I feel like Liereyy can defend against this, though. He's going to have a lot of numbers to just kind of stall that first wave, and he's already going to have the infantry technologies. Yep. So he can make a switch into longswords if he wants to as well. It would be either longsword or crossbow to counter.
The big issue here is all about the mobility when you're going longswords, right? You have to have so many of them that you're punishing your opponent for not being able to engage against you, and ideally able to punish their eco as well. You can see Liereyy peel out now, and Villese will recognize this, but Villese is going to have to pay very close attention to any reinforcements. And usually in this instance, I think you want siege as well, but that's so tricky. Because if you don't have the longswords to protect the siege is a waste.
Look at Lierey's eco right now. Look at his resources in the bank. I think he was taking all that hunt at the back, and he gets up to Castle Age with 650 food and 400 gold, and he's got the market there. Skirmisher, Bot Canero coming in. He still hasn't seen a ridiculous amount of longswords.
Yeah. Dave,
he's only seen 4 or 5.
We've seen a lot of the Dravidian aspects work out well here so far. 50% off barrack technologies that applied to the men-at-arms, now longsword, now arson. I think Squires was in too.
Skirmishers as well, faster firing skirmishers for the Dravidians. So Villese, I mean, he's keeping the pressure on right now as Eagle comes in for Liereyy, but Liereyy is clearly confident in defending against this push, and he's just going to loop around with his army on the other side. And the thing about acclivity is eventually you have to go out to that those plateaus.
When's he going to check his idols? When's he going to check his idols? It should be happening soon, and it's just 2 houses. He should place the other house, and he's good now. Very heads-up play there from Villese, and he is opening so strong here, Dave. I'm loving the opening. With only 12 Eagles against 11 longswords, I think Liereyy will have some problems.
Yeah, but Villese still hasn't managed to do any real damage, and he doesn't have a siege workshop behind this. He's kind of stalling out Liereyy. Lierey's got only half his army at home to defend, and then he pressures at the front. He's got Eagles attacking here. He's got more Eagles at the back, and like I was saying, eventually, if you're in Villese's position, you have to go out to the edges. You have to go out to those plateaus. Lierey's going to be waiting.
It's also extremely difficult to push with the longswords when you don't have the armor upgrade, Dave. He's lost so many longswords now. Castle Age armor is on the way, and this is what Aztecs can do. Their eco is so much stronger than most economies because of the collection rate and then the production speed of their units. And that's Empire Wars, right? It's just produce as quickly as possible. It obviously has massive strategy, but on acclivity, it is more about execution. But I believe there was a town center there for Villese, so he's going to be on 2 TCs, whereas it's just going to be 1 town center for the Austrian.
And you can see what the confidence of Liereyy can do against this good build from Villese. I mean, the KD right now is 24-12. It's a very Liereyy-esque KD, and the longswords, they haven't really done anything.
No, and it's a sad day when skirmishers are killing the longswords, right? Skirmishers, normally a unit that's weak up against melee units. That's a good pick off there to get rid of the siege. But that skirmisher mass, I think that's been the key for Liereyy so far. Not even the Eagles, just continuing to make skirms.
Well, and the judgment call. To leave with the Eagles, provide a little bit of pressure, defend only with skirms as the longswords are in, and we see 1, 2 dead villagers there. I think 3 if we look at the Eco KD. It's 0-3 in favor of Villese, and he's going to try and clear those up as Liereyy tries to expand. And now Lierey's in the base of Villese right now. Villager count is 51 for Liereyy, 52 for Villese.
That army count's insane, though, Dave. And like in situations where your economies get idled like this, it's the army that you have and what you can do with it that ends up being the most important. And it is all about Liereyy at the moment as he is backing away. But +2 armor has definitely made a difference here, I have to say. It's made more of a difference than I expected. Liereyy had to move all the way back to his siege workshop.
And Villese is buying himself some time. Like you said, he added that second TC, starting to expand his eco a little bit. And Liereyy is still stuck in at his own base as he adds a monastery behind this. I'd love to see Liereyy maybe change into something other than Eagle, but right now Villese's longsword number is so low.
Yeah, thankfully he realized that, Dave. That's one of those that you think you've killed, and it's game 1. The pressure is on.
I killed 2 villagers here. Oh, he didn't go for the woman on the other side.
Big issue, though, when you're trying to produce villagers out of 2 town centers, you're not going to have the food eco to make longswords as well. It is going to be 3 skirmishers and 6 maybe 7 long swords. That is not enough. That is not enough to hold the map. It's imperative, though, for Liereyy that he finally pushes out across the map and does damage.
This is perfect for Villese because he's just buying himself time with low numbers of units once again. If Liereyy doesn't cross that middle hill, Villese is perfectly content with that. He knows that Liereyy, he's seen his base. He knows he was only on 1 TC as he adds the 3rd TC. And Liereyy finally adding a second one behind this. He's going to start getting his eco up and rolling. Right now, however, Villese has a 6 villager lead. Also has horse color, which Liereyy does not have. And neither player having wheelbarrow or those Castle Age eco upgrades either.
This is big. This is big. The monk gets picked off there. And that's a monk that could be collecting relics for Liereyy. So as we see a big fight, and Liereyy will probably win it just because of numbers. This is getting a little bit precarious for Liereyy if he doesn't do that damage because the Vil count is rising for Villese, but Villese just calls it.
Villese calls it.
He taps out. He's got nothing, Dave.
Like I said, as soon as Liereyy gets over that hill, Villese knows it's over, and that was a very strange game for game number 1.
It's so like a lot of people are going to want to see with that Vil difference in the TCs. Him play on a little bit longer, but here's the reality: he can't kill that army. And Dravidians, I got to be careful because there are devs behind me right now. But in Castle Age, they're garbage. They're just
don't have
garbage.
any options.
They don't have any options. Their best play was precisely what he did. And Liereyy had the army production to match it the whole way through.
I think instead of the 2nd TC, Villese might have wanted to come forward with the Siege Workshop. Instead of that, because the longswords were holding Liereyy in. Obviously, you had problems with the Eagles in the back. You can make a couple longswords to counter that. But you had nothing against the skirms behind a wall of buildings. And you had nothing to kill the buildings. And Villese, I mean, disappointing, obviously, to resign in a position like that, but he knows when it's over. He's going to call it. He's going to save his stamina. He's going to save his emotional reserves, I think, and go into this next game, which is going to be his home map.
Again, though, to go back to what Liereyy did well there, you know, there's this feeling when you're playing as Aztecs that you're like, I don't care what they make. I don't care if they make knights. I don't care if they make longswords. I have the ability to spam so many eagles and only eagles, and I can run over that, right? But that's not what Liereyy did, right? He continued to make skirmishers, and it was actually the skirmishers with Bodcanero. Of course, we've left the game now, but they contributed a lot. I think they probably got 10, 15 kills.
Maybe.
They weaken the longswords, and then, of course, the eagles can pick off the scraps. So it seems like a really simple thing, but it's actually not in your game plan to make that many skirmishers there, and it made a difference.
What a strange game.
Yeah,
what a strange game. Not only Villese going for the pressure, going into longsword as well, and then resigning early after he kind of funneled in his reinforcements.
You know, it is definitely a sign as well, of course, that maybe Villese does not have the confidence that he can go head-to-head with very similar civilizations against Liereyy. Like, that is a counter strat. That was not a strategy that he felt like that he may have used against Yo, for example.
There's deer in the background now with a snowy landscape. I love that. Outcrop is going to be our next map, folks. This is one of Villese's home maps, and we see Berbers for him. Also, potentially Hindustanis being a nice little pick here. Most of his civilizations seem like they do decently on Outcrop. Even Franks with the cheaper castles, I think to secure the outside of the map could be a possibility.
I'm excited to see what happens if this gets Castle Age. Outcrop is the perfect map for it, and Liereyy doesn't necessarily have the picks to last him to post-Imperial Age. But, you know, it's early, but remember, this is a best-of-5 semifinal, ladies and gentlemen. So I don't think it's crazy to say that Villese needs to respond in this game. I think if he goes down 2-0, I know we've seen a reverse sweep already, and that was incredible when Tato came back against Jordan, but to do it to the best Red Bull Wololo player ever would be absolutely unprecedented. The response has to be now.
Liereyy looking at his notes there, really thinking about which civilizations he should pick. He's got 2 sheets of paper. What do you think on maps on one, civs on the other?
I wonder.
You only have so many civs.
I wonder if like the one piece of paper were the strategies he wrote down on day one, and then after watching other games, he's like, "These are my new strategies."
Maybe it's like one of them is like the the devils on the shoulder and the angel on the shoulder. One of them's like the YOLO strats on one. The one safe ones on the other.
The strategies that doubt told Liereyy about after he
Yeah,
was
yeah.
knocked out. He's like, well, I would have used this strategy, but
Yeah.
I didn't have a chance.
No, I think Liereyy crumpled that piece of paper and put it somewhere else.
Oh, man.
Into Stannies here for Villese.
That's a great pick.
That is a great pick.
We've
We've seen
seen
the
this.
success of
Yeah.
them on this map.
And the beauty of this civilization is that they're actually not predictable,
Yeah.
right? And they are one of the best counters to civilizations that can make archers, one of the best counters to a civilization that can make eagles, one of the best counters to a civilization that can make knights. And I know what you're thinking. Does that make sense? Who knows, but he's got it.
Yeah.
That's sick.
They do struggle a little bit more than they used to, though. Ever since they lost the ability to go into Helm,
Yeah.
the tech switch, if you need to make an anti-cavalry tech switch, going into camels is very costly. It's very
It is.
slow.
Also, while the Hindustanis have very much figured out and they have these crazy power spikes, the Saracens, they are extremely underrated with other things than just the crossbow play. Lierey's known for his crossbows. Our meta has been use the Saracen market and play crossbows, but they've got more HP on those camels, Dave, which goes a long way. They have a tech in zealotry, which makes even the Mamelukes be insane later on, and I think their tech tree is one of the best tech trees you'll find, and here we are. This is on Outcrop, and this is game number 2, ladies and gents. We're
Game
just
number
getting
2,
started.
Villese's home map, but I think we have a suspicion of what we're going to see here from Liereyy. I mean, we've seen it many times before, that big, massive crossbows, always getting to Imperial Age first, and then pushing forward with bomber cannons or a forward castle or whatnot. He could surprise us, though. We could see, maybe we see a Cav Archer mirror here. I wouldn't be surprised with these two civilizations.
Yeah, so, you know, the big thing on this map is eventually expanding to the sides, and not just in the long run, but also even for additional sheep right now. You should be able to see on the mini-map, Napu might pan over, there's extra, I thought there was extra sheep out there. Those are deer, but yeah, okay, there's some pigs, excuse me, oinking their way back to the TC. So that's actually really important when we're talking about Castle Age times, and I think particularly important actually for Villese, because he won't be able to rely on the market of the Saracens.
Yeah, I think there's 12 extra pigs on this map. I could be wrong. Neely's probably shaking his head in the other room.
It's 13. It's 13.
13?
Yeah, standard.
And there's a market that still isn't complete. Okay, there we go. Finally complete from Liereyy as Villese tries to wall up. And Liereyy, you can tell he's completed his
That's just
market because
insane.
he starts clicking buttons and suddenly he's in a position to click up to Castle Age. Now, I want to see what Liereyy adds on the way there. He hasn't started adding additional production buildings, but he is beginning to wall on the northern side and going out to take those Ibex. He was one of the first players, by the way, I want to bring this up, in Empire Wars to pioneer going way outside of your base to take the extra hunt. People didn't do that. They were pushing it in or they didn't take it until later. He incorporated that as part of his build, and now everyone uses it.
This is the tricky thing. Liereyy is probably the best crossbow player. He's going to have the best possible crossbow timing, and he has the best crossbow civilization to break through walls, which is what Villese has been spending time doing. Villese's open skirms, which tells me that what he wants to do, that pig is going to have to decide what team he's on. There you go. But I think what he's going to want to do is he's going to want to track and catch armies. So if we could follow his scout, Mapu, we should see that scout around a range right now. He just moved in. Yeah, he's waiting for it. He's waiting for it.
So Villese knows that Liereyy wants to be sneaky.
Look where he sits. He is one, like, his opponent cannot see it, and Liereyy might be tempted to move out now. The scout's just waiting for a chance.
Villese checking on the inside, making sure the army isn't building up there. Doesn't want to engage against the villagers, even though he might be able to pick one off. He realizes that that scout is so valuable for him, and he's missed the army now. Coming out of there as he comes back to the top side where Liereyy is still trying to be a little bit annoying with the spearman and a scout of his own, and that army from Liereyy is looping around to the south.
And let's see if there's any confusion for Villese here, right? He knows the army's going to be out there, but he definitely wanted to catch that. And let's see if he has an idea. If he loops back to the range, this is a big thing because he was just hoping his opponent hasn't left yet. Let's see. He's going to see 2 archers.
And
that would freak me out.
Yeah, he'll know.
That would freak me out.
There's no reason to send just 2 solo archers. If you're sending 2 archers, you already have an army forward, and your opponent just hit Castle Age. You know crossbow Bodkin is on the way. You know you're against Saracens. However, Villese is a minute away from Castle Age. He's getting the armor. He's going for a tower because he knows they're there. And he might be able to defend in this situation if that tower goes up.
Yeah, there is a very good chance that all these villagers die. And this timing could not be better for Liereyy at the moment. And the gold has to be abandoned, and this is the window.
Boy.
This is what Liereyy wants. He's going to kill 2. And there's also an overchop on the left side. So if the crossbows loop over there, they can run right in. disaster for the Finnish player.
Villese is about to hit Castle Age, but it's going to take him time to get his technologies.
Oh my
He
God,
goes for
the
some house walls.
overchop! Here comes the knight!
Oh, no, Villese!
Oh, everything's going wrong, Dave. Everything is going wrong. And this is the pressure that Liereyy puts you under, right? It's bound to happen. You know it's coming, but can you stop it?
I mean, at the end of all this, he's only lost 2 villagers. He's only lost 2 villagers. He's going to get to Castle Age. If he can clear up this army, he's going to have a chance. But the way Liereyy operates, he's going to continue sending army forward, getting the cavalry armor now. And he's going to have those knights raiding at the edges of Vilese's economy, preventing that expansion while his crossbows dance at the front of Vilese's base.
Elite Scrim takes a long time. However, similar to in the previous game, if the Knights don't have high enough numbers, if there's not as many upgrades on them, the Scrims can actually pick away. And of course, the Camels could be helpful as well here. But I'd be curious, Dave, to see what Liereyy does, because he's had villagers on stone, but he's been selling it and then buying resources. Okay, there's my answer. He's actually going to boom.
Yeah, he's going to add an extra TC, and he's taking control of this northern side where all that gold and stone is. Villese can still move out to the south, but with the mobility of the Knights, Liereyy can keep an eye on that. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him send a unit back around that way to start looking for that expansion. The scout is in the north. He's looping around with his army now.
Yeah, can we get a quick look at Vilese's base to see if he has a market? It'd be nice to see. Okay, he did have the market. He was so lucky there. He needed to click a lead scrim and bod kit. He had like 1 gold remaining. I'm sure he used the market as well there. But this is incredible from Liereyy. He knows he's got the lead right now. And the second that Villese thinks that he's going to fall back, he just loops around. That this is what Saracen crossbows can do. Is they do so much more damage to buildings. And you have to defend this if you're Villese. You can't lose your archery range.
I will say that Liereyy had 8 on food. He has no horse collar. And he's using all his resources right now. Villese has a very nice farm eco if he can keep it safe. And even with that second TC, I think Villese is ahead economically.
Yeah, this patience from Liereyy is so good. He's like, it's all right. I just want to take out your archer range. It's like, now I know you're not going to have as many skirmishers, and I can deal with that number. The beauty of Liereyy as well is he's got very little idle TC time. Actually, it's quite high for him now that I say that, but whatever, bad timing. And the crossbows are always producing, right? That range is always moving. That's quite nice. That could actually lead to a villager kill.
Yeah, Liereyy was keeping this scout up here. He was patrolling it earlier. He was looking for this expansion from Villese, and he's got his army in the south, so he knows that Villese can only go up there. And I'm interested to see whether he sends a couple knights, whether he sends some crossbows. I think it might be too late now to pressure that TC. But a villager forward for a siege workshop could be an option as well.
This is such an important moment in Vilese's day today and career in general. If he can turn this game around, and the Hindustanis have those tools,
huge confidence.
If he turns this game around, the sky's the limit, right? Like he suddenly could become the favorite to win this semifinal. He suddenly could make it to the final. But if he doesn't win this game, Lierey's playing so good. There's no question he's playing his best right now.
I think the only concern for Liereyy is that he falls into the classic trap with Saracens, which is you're all in on the market, you're pushing, and you're not adding eco behind. But I see his farm count going up consistently. Vilese's farms are looking beautiful there when they're not harassed by crossbows. And Villese is still holding on, but Liereyy seems to be adding eco behind this push, which is a good sign for Liereyy fans out there as he kills a camel and a lot of skirmishers.
This is just, I don't think it's going to be a very good fight for Villese. The camels don't have bloodlines. Sure, they might attack 20% faster, but they still lack Pierce Armor compared to the Knights. And the crossbows, if we could see how much damage those crossbows has done on Capture Age, they have been the key here. 4 kills. I was expecting it to be more, Dave, but they've just been so much control because of them there.
See the camels now from Liereyy harassing that TC in the north from Villese, and Liereyy going for a 3rd TC on the gold in the center. He's got control in the northern area. He's got control in the center. He's got control in Vilese's base right now. It's Villese with a nice little gate wall, and we get an applause from the crowd. Quick walling in the camels. Villese says, you will not escape.
And then Lierey's like, but I'm still here. Right? Everyone can calm down. I'm still killing villagers. Lierey's probably, I didn't see a smirk on his face there, but he's probably like, right, come on, I'm dominating this guy right now. But again, every time I look at the top left where Capture Age shows the production, the crossbows are always producing. Always
producing. He's got this mass, and he's going to kill another villager. I'm looking at the eco from Villese. He hasn't been damaged too much yet. That's 2 villagers down, and this might be bad if Liereyy can bring something forward to help against that town center. Villese trying to go for a 3rd town center a little bit to the north of that, and there's the Siege Workshop.
Can we see on the left as well? Go to Lierey's Fog of War. This is incredible. So he's got his army, obviously, but look on the south side of Villese's base. He's waiting there because he knows if his opponent doesn't expand, all he needs to do is choke out that TC, and that's it. And it's just been perfect, Dave. And here, the confidence. His opponent doesn't have ballistics yet. His opponent doesn't have full armor yet. So he is fighting against a counter unit.
Yeah.
Don't suggest this to the majority of the viewers, but Liereyy can make it happen.
Well, he's controlling this gold, he's controlling that hill, this area, and he's just kind of waiting for that Siege Workshop to come out so he can have something to help against the town centers. He'll come in and idle these villagers on the gold. Don't think he knows about that second TC from Villese, but still, with mangonels involved, Liereyy can get it done.
He threatens the TC. Villese now comes up the hill, and Lierey's like, I'm ready for you. This is part of my plan. I wanted you to come out here because with the hill bonus, I can shred your skirmishers. It's like everything Villese does, Lierey's on top of it. Liereyy always has a little bit more army, a little bit more control, and now it gets bad because we just saw those crossbows for the short time they were attacking the town center take out 200 HP. There's also going to be a mangonel.
Yeah,
so
there's going to be probably more than one mangonel coming out from there.
Yeah.
Although Villese, still competitive. I keep saying it. I'm like a broken record. His eco is still chugging along. Liereyy has 7 minutes of idle TC time, so he's fully focused on this, not really attaching as much importance to eco as Villese is in this game. And here's the mangonel coming out.
He was not expecting it. He wasn't expecting it. The monk goes down. That's such a big moment. Now, there will be some conversions behind this, but the question is, does Liereyy care, right? Because it's still a good position for him to get a shot in. He does miss there, but he takes out the monks, Dave. He continues to push in, and again, Villese is on the defensive.
He's been on the defensive all game, and he's still alive. Villese with 70 villagers, Liereyy with 73. Army count, though, in favor of Liereyy, 27-16, and Villese goes for a defensive Siege Workshop of his own. Villese still without that second Pierce armor for his skirmishers. Still without that second armor for his cavalry, which Liereyy also doesn't have. But he's going to need a solution
it's just the
for
value.
this hill position.
Yeah, the value he gets from his army. Like, the siege timing is actually really good for Villese right now. Possibly a little late when you're up against the Saracens, because Lierey's really going to make this hurt. But if he can get a couple defensive mangonel shots and then drop a castle in that area, Dave, we then start to talk about the Gulam. And the Gulam is an incredible unit to have.
Especially against a composition like this, right? Not good against the Knights, but decent against the Camels, because the Camels don't do too much damage. Really good against the crossbows.
Look at how fast the town center's going down!
Just getting fried, man.
That bonus is nuts. And again, that's another moment where Liereyy, the whole time he's attacking the TC, he doesn't even expect to take it out. He just he knows that his opponent has to come fight him. So he's baiting the army out because he's like, if you don't fight me, look what's going to happen.
Also, Villese needs wood for his defenses, and that TC is soaking all the wood right here. Villese coming out with a mangonel, but he's shooting uphill.
Oh my God!
Oh, Liereyy attack grounded, and he didn't hit it. He attack grounded.
There's 3 mangonels, Dave. The skirmishers are probably not going to be able to survive. Villese does take the hill, but his army is going to melt here. There is no chance you win this battle. There is no chance at all, and this could be the GG fight here. And it is. Liereyy is playing like a monster right now.
Liereyy going up 2-0, and this was Villese's home map. Liereyy came forward, and he never looked back. He never looked back. He was just completely all over Villese ever since Villese was a little bit late with that scout, finding the archers, a little bit late with the tower. Liereyy killed 2 villagers, and from that point onwards, Villese was fighting over that territory.
And that's the thing. Against Liereyy, you can't make those small mistakes. You have to have that tower timing down, but again, I'm just so impressed with how patient he is, right? He's patience and offense. Normally, it's like patience and defense when you're sitting back behind economy. He always knew where his opponent would be. I actually don't think Villese made too many mistakes. It was just that Liereyy was always on top of him.
I think he was doing so well with that scout, like you mentioned.
Yeah, and then he had to run away.
And then he left.
I think there was a spearman there, but again, if he doesn't lose track of that army, at the very least, even if he doesn't kill any archers, the tower was up, and then he wouldn't have had that problem.
Time for the reverse sweep.
Yeah.
We were talking about it.
Yeah, guys, we've had some short games, but that's what the series was going to look like, right? If Villese was going to win, these games would go late, as they often did for him. And he's got a couple more chances, obviously, if he wants to win the whole thing, but he's got a Kawasan to go to, Dave. And it's a tough battle from here, because if he wins Kawasan, the rest of the games are on Lierey's home maps, Arabia and Enclosed.
And I wonder, I think Villese could probably pick all of these civs legitimately on Kawasan. They're all tailored towards that style of map. I think maybe not Bulgarians, maybe save that for something like Enclose or Arabia. But Franks, Berbers, Byzantines, all looking decent. And then we look at Liereyy over there. Gajars are kind of a question mark for me where to pick them. Britons could be viable, and Lithuanians could be viable as well.
I think, I mean, obviously, if you're Liereyy, you just want to save your best civilizations for your home maps. This you could consider a throwaway. I think Liereyy expects Franks on Kawasan here, because we've seen a lot of players skip the docks and just go for the berries and the farms with Franks. Gurjaras have some pretty good answers to the Franks with their camels. But it's not a very Liereyy pick to see Gurjaras, right? Like, you're expecting archers. So with that said, maybe he goes for Britons, maybe Ethiopians.
I think the problem with Gajara fighting on Kawasan against Franks is that you go up against that little berry hill in the middle. If the Franks have control over that, they're probably one or two monastery, converting all your camels, choke pointy in the middle there. Their knights just run away. You can't get any value. They have the relics. It's going to be very, very difficult, and I'm super curious to see the Civ pick here from Liereyy. Maybe it just goes Britons like he did. I believe he did that earlier. I can't remember. Was it against Villese?
I can't answer that question because there were so many games. But I can tell you that Villese deserves this position. He deserves to be here. So if there's a shock and there's a surprise here, don't look away, right? He has what it takes. Remember, he had to beat some amazing players to be here. I think he lost one game the entire event, which is actually, I think that's either tied with what Liereyy lost or maybe one fewer. But the first game was 20 minutes. Second game was 20 minutes. Very short games. The dream scenario for Liereyy. If he was fielding nerves, he's not going to be feeling as many now. As we see Byzantines is the pick. Beautiful cataphract there on the desk from Villese. And Byzantines, we love this. We saw a great performance from his countryman. His friend, Vallus, with a valiant defense into a counterattack against Sato. And we would love to see something like that again, as Liereyy is going to be going for, what's your pick? I think he goes Lithuanians. Lithuanians, okay. I think he goes Lithuanians because it's an awesome map to have if you can get the middle control with the relics, right? Your knights are almost unstoppable at that stage. And that plus 150 food really gives you the good options to be competitive with scouts. If you need to go into skirmishers or any ranged units, Lithuanians can do that as well. But you have Enclosed, which is probably Britons. And then you'd have Arabia, which I could see him picking Ethiopians. So I would say Lithuanians, and yep, there it is. Lithuanians. We're about to get stuck in here. I mean, we saw that amazing match between, was it? No, it was Saracens against Lithuanians. That was Villese. Villese had the Saracens up against Yo's Lithuanians. And we saw what Lithuanians can do with the skirmishers and the spearmen, but Byzantines can do the same thing. I mean, the skirms are going to be a little bit faster for Lithuanians, but the Byzantines are going to have a little bit more. And looks like there was a error with the map, so we're just going to restart the game again, and they should get in there quickly. Krazini, as always, is right on top of that. Yeah, so again, best of 5 here, okay? Best of 5 semifinal. And there's also another element to this as Liereyy stares at the camera and then awkwardly realizes it was live. Yeah, little smirk there. But if you think about it, so they loaded into the game, there was a villager stuck in a wood line. This happens like one of every 100 generations, it's whatever. They got to see the civilization. So now their brains get to churn a little bit on what the approach will be. And my question is, will we see Byzantines try and be competitive for the water, Dave? Because we have seen more games in this event than I ever thought where players didn't even dock. So I think... And is Liereyy the kind of guy that's going to be contesting the water? I would say no. Is he going to let... I don't think he wants to let Villese get away with it, though. With a civ like Byzantines that can just defend so easily on land with their counter units, I don't think you want your opponent booming up on water at the same time. I think that would be a big mistake. Anyways, what's the opening for Villese? Is it just a single archer range, try and get up to castle age, or is it double range? The beauty here is if your opponent is making heavy scouts, you have very cheap spearmen. So I think you go range opening, 100%. And I think you have to have a spearman protect a villager and go dock, right? And it's such a big thing. Like, I think it was Daniel against, crap, man, I should stop trying to quote the games because there's been so many. But I think it was actually Daniel ACCM last weekend. And Daniel would have been fine, but his Doc Villager got sniped by a very sneaky ACCM. There's been small moments, particularly in the previous game. We saw the scout missing out on those archers moving forward. On Kawasan, you've got those 2 pawns, and it's the same thing there, but it's a lot harder to find.
Yeah. It's interesting how Liereyy holds his like thumb up against the keyboard when he plays.
I know, everyone's
Everyone's got
different.
their own different kind of thing. Villese, at least Villese doesn't do the one finger for both mouse clicks
Anymore. Yeah.
He used to have, Villese used to have some interesting tendencies, but it looks like they might be in the game here shortly as we had to restart, but we will go into game number 3 coming up, folks, and we're hoping that Villese can make a miraculous comeback as Liereyy has just looked super dominant so far. We're in the game number 3, and this is Villese's final home map here. He's playing as Byzantines against the Lithuanians from Liereyy, and Liereyy, again, starting with the walls.
Also, if I'm not mistaken, Liereyy has not opened with an archer range or a stable of any kind. Normally, you would build that on the front, so he's going eco and walls, very uncommon.
And Villese opens with an archer range. He's got an archer in the queue as Liereyy gets a hit with the spearman there. That was very nice snipe from him, and he's going to have to try and full wall here and get up to the castle age a little bit faster than Villese. I just wonder, does Villese go for a dock now? He's got a yellow unit to the south, heading away from his base. I wonder if that's a villager.
Yeah, I mean, I think in this matchup, that's the edge you have to get, and there he goes. So the positive for him is he could lose this scout. The positive for him is that he's able to freely get to that dock.
Yeah.
And he might even have a spearman be able to catch up with the scout as well, because they are very fast with the Lithuanians.
Okay, scout is trying to get away, and the scout goes down.
Yep.
That means the scout for Liereyy will still be alive, uncontested, to go and see if there's anything along those shorelines of the ponds. I like the fact that Villese kind of went to the edge, away from where Liereyy would normally scout. A lot of players try and do that, but Liereyy will make the full rotation. Looking for dogs.
Look what a starting scout can do, right?
Yep.
One archer, that archer was running forward. There's a lot of pressure on Villese right now to do damage, but he doesn't have the spearman there because the spearman's with that archer, and actually Lierey's going to be fully walled as well. This is an amazing start so far for Liereyy. I'm not sure what his plan is beyond Castle Age, but the dream scenario for him to kill that archer and make 0 military.
Yeah, and we can see his resources right now looking pretty decent as Villese queues up another fishing ship, also goes for a market of his own. Do you think for Liereyy the approach is just get monasteries on the middle? Maybe get a couple stables and try and go Knights Monk?
Well, I looked at you, I agreed with you, I looked back, and now we see skirmishers for Liereyy.
Oh.
And the beauty of this is that you expect stable.
Yeah.
And that archer range is hidden and will not be able to be spotted. So I think there's a very good chance that Liereyy surprised his opponent by doing skirm. But
does Liereyy have a villager over there? It's a spearman.
A spearman,
It's a spearman. It's trying.
It's really hard. It's trying. He doesn't have the correct tools, guys. So this is funny. I was just thinking about this, right? We have Empire Wars. We had this faster-paced setting, which skips Dark Age, which is such an integral part of Age of Empires 2, and it's such a great setting. Liereyy just, he changed it. He just goes to Castle Age every game. Literally every game, Liereyy says, why would I go feudal? I'll just go Castle. This is 3 games now, Dave, with different civilizations on different maps.
3 games in a row. So very anti-Liereyy-like performance so far, and that maybe is the mind games against Villese, right? And maybe Villese is going to start adapting his style to make up for that, because usually if you're going boom against Villese, you're dying. Because he's just so good about it.
Can we see if Liereyy scouted the dock, though? He just lost his scout there. We're going to see his point of view. And he doesn't know about that.
But he can see from the score maybe something's going on. It's kind of clear, but not really confirmed yet for him.
Well, this is actually quite good for Villese because he's going to see the skirms after he's pretty much stopped making archers, and he has the stables as well. So think about it this way, people at home. If you kill 3 villagers in a standard game, obviously you're like, okay, naturally I'm going to be up by 3 eco. Fishing ships are more efficient on food than villagers. You don't need to refresh them like farms, right? They just continue to work. And so Lierey's under pressure now. If he doesn't kill like 3, 4, 5 villagers, if he doesn't control the middle, that fish boom will pay off in the long run.
I think he is going to control the middle, though. I like the fact that Villese added a scout there to not only push those back, but in case Liereyy was going into monks. But monk spearmen, some skirmishers could be pretty difficult, especially after you gather those 5 relics in the center. As Villese now is dropping is that a monastery of his own? It is. And there's a TC in the middle from Liereyy.
This is so cool. Now, it's funny because when you think Lithuanians, you think you just get the relics so you can get the extra attack on your knights, and then life is all great. But no, actually, their monasteries work faster. It's the perfect opening if you're worried about the cheap Byzantine camels. So let's see what these monks can do. The skirms so far have been a bit of a waste.
The scout died as well, which is a big deal in this fight, because he could have sent that scout in to kill the monks. Now he's got 2 camels, and he needs to run away before they get converted. One of them gets converted. Villese fortunate. The other one didn't follow, as Liereyy is now snagging all of those relics in the center. That's going to be his second one coming in, and the other ones are pretty nearby to bring back to the monastery. Sanctity now coming in for Villese, and Byzantines also get a very good monk tech tree, and their monks heal extremely quickly.
They do, yeah, and we're going to see +2 armor now for Villese. Not the biggest fan of that.
No, why?
Because I don't think armor helps too much against monks. You cannot armor yourself from the Lord.
Unless you're planning on a counter raid into Lierey's eco.
Yeah, possibly.
But I don't see what the armor is really giving you. I mean, I guess you do have a ton of food eco from your fishing ships. Still adding those, by the way. Neither player has gone for a dock in the top as of yet. Although we see the remnants of the feudal army.
That's smart,
making their way back.
So here's the thing, like, this game is won or lost with that hill, right?
Yeah.
And I just saw Villese has one on stone somewhere, so that I assume he's going to have more eventually. Not only do you have the relics there, but you're going to have like 15, 20 villagers in the middle on berries, which is great to win the game and snowball it fast. But if the berries run out, then suddenly you have 20 villagers, and you probably don't have wood for the farms, and they're all stuck in the middle of the map.
Redemption is coming in.
It's a good tech.
So Liereyy saw that Siege Workshop there. He's brought in the relics. He's got a lot of gold income, good. 12 on gold right now, and he's going to have Redemption at exactly the right time when this Mangonel comes in. And because of these weird little choke points caused by the berries, the camels aren't really going to find any positive engagements against the monks.
Ooh, and Sanctity's in, so that should be a conversion.
Oh, that's unfortunate for Villese. A great play from Liereyy to get Redemption when he did. And
it's again Sanctity as well. And now suddenly the monk siege from Liereyy is dominating the middle, Dave. This is a player who, as we've said, has gone so deep as we see a big shot there. He's got to delete it. You have to
fire
delete
and
it.
then delete. Oh, actually really nice from Villese. You see the crowd applauding that a little bit. Wow. He took a little bit of a risk there on the conversion of the Mangonel, but he gets his own Mangonel that used to be his Mangonel that's now Lierey's Mangonel.
It's an awkward situation.
He also gets the other monk, so that's a very nice engagement there. Lierey's still controlling the center, however, and he's going into Knights. Now, my question for Liereyy is, what does the food eco look like behind this? Because I think some of those on food up there are on the berries in the middle, which aren't the best, but he does have farms coming down. So.
It's looking pretty good. I love the counterattack here, though, from the Finn. The finisher needs to get a win, and this is just not something Liereyy wants to deal with. Camels are slow, but they're not going to be able to make it back here. What do? You have to delete your Siege Workshop.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be so tough. Lierey's got Knights, he's got Monks, he's got the TC in the middle, he's got the Relics, the Archers come out. Can they kill a Monk? Can they get a Monk? They get one and he deletes! He deletes!
Oh my god, that was hilarious. But that range is going to be lost, and the biggest thing here is that's what his opponent's switching into, right? It's not like this archer range is useless now. He's actually been trying to make a switch, Dave. And it's just so much pressure from Liereyy. And now his Knights, what is it going to be, +5 attack in Castle Age? How do you stop that with crossbows?
10 +5. I mean, you can start converting them, right? And immediately after he converts it, I think he deleted that or it got converted back. He's still wandering around with the camels behind this, by the way, trying to look for damage. And those camels are coming up from behind, but there's a lot of monks there.
It's so impressive because if there was ever a weakness for Liereyy, it would be this type of play. It would be relying on monks. You would think crossbows. You would think knights. You would never think something that is a little off meta for these settings, particularly a water map. What this guy is doing is unbelievable, and the knights are going to die. I'm sure some of them will switch sides, but they can always be converted back, and the villagers have to run I don't see how you stop this right now if you're Villese.
I think you have to hope Liereyy doesn't maybe distract him in some way and then come in with the camels and try and take the monks, but it's going to be very difficult. I mean, he still has that army of camels. Here they come on the right side, but I think there's just more knights for Liereyy, and it seems impossible to stop Liereyy right now. Villese adding a dock in the north. He's going to try and expand his eco a little bit up there, but it's still only 1 TC versus 2 TC from Liereyy. The fish are running out in the pond in the south. He can't really kill these monks at the moment, and the knights are providing cover for them. Difficulty everywhere for the Finn.
Yeah, your monastery is going to go down. And then again, like, camels are so weak, you cannot dive here. He's going to lose some camels here, Dave. That's three conversions.
Converted, yeah.
And the monks will they'll just get a little bit more faith from God, and boom, they'll be back at it in a minute.
Exactly. Oh, this is getting really, really tough for Villese. And he subconsciously, he thinks he's on the clock because he knows the relics are in Lierey's hands right now.
Look
it's
at
very
Lierey's
capable
food
hands.
count. 32 on food. Obviously, a lot of that's on berries, but he's going to be able to pump out knights like it's no problem for him.
+2 armor. Why did you get it? I don't understand. I mean, it's not the biggest deal in this game, but it's just decisions like that you're looking at and you're wondering, why on earth did you get that?
I think it's a decision you make when you don't know what else to do, right? When you just feel behind, you're just like, well, I hope my camels having more armor is going to help, but certainly didn't fit the situation. Also, Villese could get badly housed. He's got like 5 houses on the front that could all be converted or rammed down.
He's got enough for a castle.
Oh, man.
He's got enough for a castle, but at this point, you just have to put it defensively, and even if you do, Liereyy can just move around to the other side.
Oh, he's going to try and use the crossbows against the monks, Dave. He's going to get some of the monks here, but the knights have so much power. It's 25 army for Liereyy, and he's got the strongest knights in Castle Age. There's no way back.
No.
There's no way back for Villese. This is over.
With a ram there, the camel's going to switch to the monk. I mean, the crossbows are still kind of alive. The TC is firing away at the knights. Lierey's got +2 on those knights, +5 on the attack. Lierey's just sitting under the TC, super confident. Lierey's taken the semifinals against Villese, and he's going to move on to the finals. Very convincing stuff for Liereyy. I mean, just dominant performance for the Austrian. Both these guys are... You know, Villese is going to congratulate Liereyy, and Lierey's going to, you know, wish the best of luck in the future for Villese.
Yeah, Villese, obviously, such an incredible performance to get here. He will be disappointed in himself. He will know that if these games could have gone on longer, he had what it took to beat Liereyy today. But Liereyy is back in the finals. And what a statement. To win 3-0, 3 20-minute games.
Is he blushing?
He's blushing a little bit.
That's the first. I've never seen that before. Liereyy getting overwhelmed by the crowd response. Crowd loving the performance there. And it was absolutely stunning what Liereyy just pulled off. And he did it in a way that we didn't expect, right? We expected just pure pressure into Castle Age snowballing. And Liereyy went up to FC every single time.
Yeah, he was very, very relaxed and feudal. And there were multiple times where Villese was not expecting it based on his opening. When I think Liereyy, I think Castle Age pressure. Forget the crossbow thing, that's dead. It's just Castle Age. So now that we'll bring a very interesting conversation to us later on, of course, when the final happens, because it's like, can he be so bold and do that?
Exactly.
Because whoever will face him in the finals will have seen that already. But a very fast first semifinal, a very cutthroat victory from Liereyy, who quite possibly is everyone's favorite now when that final rolls around.
Yeah, and we have Ellie now with Liereyy. We're going to get his thoughts on that set and moving on to the grand finals.
Congratulations, Liereyy. 3-0, you are looking strong, and your Age of Empires play doesn't look too bad either.
Yeah, you know, I could get used to this, honestly.
Tell us how you're feeling after that final game. What was with Redemption? What was your thought process there?
I had some strats prepared, you know, that map. I obviously expected him to watch it, so I kind of took one step further and just went skirms. Yeah, I just countered him, so that's it pretty much.
I think game 1 and game 2 we saw some skirmishers play as well. Do you think that perhaps skirmishers need to be nerfed? Are they too strong?
What would MBL do then?
In the first game, you also did manage to secure the Aztec pick, which historically was often banned in the tournament. How did you feel getting that civ?
Pretty good. Obviously, it's one of the best civs by far, as a reason why everyone bans it, why everyone first picks it, and I did it as well, you know, it worked out.
Well, you played phenomenally well here, and it was a really big joy to watch. In the second game, Saracens versus Hindustanis, were there any points where you felt that you didn't have this game, or did you feel in control the whole time?
After the tower, I felt pretty confident. Obviously, lost some vills, lost some idle time, no gold, had to adapt a bit, so after that I felt pretty smooth.
And what about in the first game when the man-at-arms came into your base? Did you suspect the second Rax, or did you think that was the starting Rax when you saw it first?
That was the second Rax?
I
Makes
guess-
sense, actually.
Well, that would answer that question.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the 3 militias, so that helps a lot. Otherwise, you know, who knows how I would have handled it. And I would have probably had to buy towers or something, because I was going to be fully walled either way, so I think I had some chances, nevertheless. But obviously, I saw the militias obviously helped.
Well, we will wish you the best of luck, whether you're up against Hera or Tato. Do you have someone, would you hope to be against your teammate, I'm assuming?
Would be something spicy, you know, like the third rematch. I mean, obviously friends of both, so obviously the better one should win, but would be something.
Well, we'll look forward to watching it for sure. We will take it over to the analysis, so take it away.